So I often get accused, or not accused, called out, or sometimes complimented, oftentimes complimented, mostly complimented, but sometimes it's a little accusational for deriving inspiration from Rothko, or as some people like to say, copying Rothko. But the people who also like Rothko will definitely be like, oh, you're inspired by Rothko, aren't you? Or you must like Rothko. Obviously I do. But I've been struggling with this topic for years because a lot of these pieces, I naturally want to create these rectangular compositions of color fields. And they also happen to look like Rothko, similar, in like a similar composition. But anyone who really knows Rothko's work would look at this and be like, that's clearly not a Rothko, even though it has like a similar composition thing going on. So I wonder, I wonder spiritually and energetically about this topic of Rothko. I haven't studied him too much. Obviously I've seen his work and I like his work. And when I have visited it, I have really connected with it. But every time I learn something about him, I learn how much he really was exploring the human experience and emotions, which just so happens to be a huge topic that I'm exploring in my personal life, my personal growth, and my art itself. So I think sometimes it's uncanny. I feel like there's these certain topics and themes that exist in art, in all art forms. And I think certain artists kind of connect to those themes and topics, and those are the artists channeling those topics into their art. So I feel like there's this theme in the spiritual, the energetic realm of human consciousness and emotions, and how to communicate that with paintings. And then maybe there's like a sub-theme of communicating it with these colors and layers and kind of rectangular compositions. And I think that just happens to be this like almost like a radio station that artists like Rothko and me we're just naturally, we connect to those radio stations. So naturally, like it feels so natural to me to make art the way that I do. Like my most recent Unseen series, it's just natural. It just came out of me that way. That's how I naturally wanted to make those pieces. And that's something that's been on my mind now, especially with these two pieces, is I'm calling these part of a new series called Natural Progressions, because on my mind a lot as I'm making these, my intention going into these pieces was to make art that really naturally wants to flow out of me. And I'm really trying not to listen to the story and the judgments in my head of, this looks too much like Rothko, and just make what naturally wants to flow. So I've been saying this for a while, I think the best art is the art that someone most naturally wants to make. So, as I was saying, I think the best art is the art that people most naturally want to make. And when someone is making the art that they most naturally want to make, they are expressing themselves in the most authentic way possible. And I think to express ourselves authentically is an inherent drive and desire for the human soul. So when the audience sees an artist authentically expressing their art, the audience is naturally drawn to that, no matter what the art looks like. I think our eyes and our minds think that it's because of the way the art looks, but our souls feel that it's because this artist is authentically expressing themselves, and I want more of that, so I'm going to interact with this art, hoping to be inspired to more authentically express my own soul. So I think that's what's happening there. Which reminds me about something that really bothers me, has been bothering me for the last couple of years since I've been using social media more, is there are certain people that make content grading or deciding like they're the art police, and they get to decide if this is art or this is not art. And I was the victim of this once by some guy who I will not name, whose name is Justin Bua. And like he was saying that he makes, not just him, but a few people I've seen, and I'm sure there's more, make videos saying this is art, this is not art, this is good, this is bad. And a lot of times they're talking shit. And I believe there's only one person in the entire world who can decide if something is art or not, and that's the person who made it. And it's up to them to decide if this is art, and it's up to them to decide if they're an artist, a real artist, if this is real art, all those words, only the person that made the thing can decide. You don't have to agree with them, but you can't definitively say that is art or that is not art. You can say, I don't think that is art, because that's your opinion, but only the person making it can decide. Because that is their authentic expression of what they want to do with their life. And who are you to say if that's real art or not? It's their expression. So, but I digress. Back to natural progressions. Yeah, I don't even know what else to say about that. I feel like if you've been listening, if you've been watching this video, you got the gist. So why am I sharing this? Because I've been doing a lot of reflecting on last year, 2025, 2026, the years before, the kind of progression of my art career. And at the end of the year, there's always, in Miami, there's Art Basel, and then there's a lot of art stuff going on. And this year, not only did I go to Art Basel, but I also went last minute to Paris in December to see 2 exhibitions of Gerhard Richter, who has been a huge inspiration for me. And my biggest lessons seeing the art that I saw at Art Basel and going to Richter's exhibitions is, you know the saying that like no 2 people see the same movie? Like everyone is watching the movie through the lens of their own perspective, their own experiences, what they're going through. So I feel like every year when I go to Art Basel, I walk away with a new learning based on where I am right now. And what I saw this year is I was inspired deeply by seeing how expressive some of the art was. And I feel like what I saw in it was these artists really making whatever the fuck they want to make. And comparing myself to some of that, I realized that in some of my art, I'm a little bit in my head, and I'm trying to make something instead of just letting it flow out of me. Not instead of, all my art, I feel like I've gotten to a good place where I can let it flow out of me, and it's just sometimes I'm in my head a little bit. So, but I think this is the journey of a lifetime for artists, is to, over time, continually get better at getting out of your head and letting each piece of art ideally gets more and more aligned with natural flow, because that is aligned with authentic expression of the soul, which is what makes the best art that people connect with. So from this past December, last month, going to Art Basel and going to Paris, that's what really struck me, was that I can, especially Gerhard Richter, I went to an exhibition that had a huge retrospective of his whole career, and seeing the multiple series and styles that he worked in was so inspiring to me, because he just does whatever he wants. He wants to make this art and explore this art, he makes it. He wants to explore this art, he makes it. He's not letting himself be trapped by a certain style that people like, or a certain whatever, a look that he needs to do for his whole career, which is fine. A different artist, all artists do whatever they want. Like think of Romero Brito. He has a very distinct style and look. All his art has that same look. You see it, you know that's Brito. It's great, that works for him. I find for me, I'm more into exploring different styles and different things that look differently. And what I saw in Richter is that not only does he do that, but for the first time ever, I saw the through line in all his different styles. Even though they look distinct, they all have this, they're all studying like blur and kind of blurring representation. So his paintings he would blur. His color lines, I forget what it's called, but that was like a blur of pixels that he pulled from his paintings. Even his like scraping paintings that he used the big scrapers, that was also kind of creating this blur effect, which was a product of his experiences growing up around, I think it was like World War II in Germany. So yeah, I realized in my art, I have all these different styles, but all of it is this underlying the theme of human emotion and the layers of humanity and the spectrum of existence that we experience as humans. And I want people to welcome the emotions and the experiences that we have, and not just welcome them, but celebrate them and accept them and realize that it's part of the human experience. And the more we actually feel our emotions, the better we can actually regulate ourselves and have a more peaceful and fulfilling experience of being human, with less stress and less anxiety and more peace and joy. So I feel like I've been rambling on and on in this video, so I'm gonna come to a close. Obligatory invitation for you is to sign up for my email newsletter, because that is where I publish my newest works, and whenever I release pieces for sale, available for collection, whoever's on my email list finds out first. I also send updates of the studio and different projects and invitations to events in my email list. All the best information is the email list. Other than that, thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It helps these videos get to more people, and I'll see you around.